It's the end of 2025. I hope you've had a good Christmas. I'm pretty burnt from the Boxing Day test, but in this video, I'm gonna be showing you absolutely everything that I invest into and why across all of my various investing accounts. As you can see here, my current total investment portfolio is at just over £180,000, and we're gonna be going through every penny of that. But first, of course, a few caveats. Firstly, this didn't happen overnight. I've been investing now for over 8 years. I'm gonna show you my specific investments, but of course, I'm not a financial advisor. This isn't financial advice. And yeah, with investing, of course, it can be volatile and your capital is always at risk. And finally, I'm just sharing this to be transparent. I'm not trying to boast. The numbers are getting bigger, which is of course great. But yeah, I continue to share my investments to be transparent and hopefully help point people in the right direction and ultimately hopefully inspire people to get started with investing. And my real aim from all of this is to build up my pot large enough so I can live off of it and ultimately achieve financial freedom early. And I say early, before traditional retirement age, we'll say by living off of my investments. So firstly, let's go into my ISAs. I have one stocks and shares ISA and it is with Vanguard, and this is the portfolio value. I only have one investment in my ISA and it is the FTSE Global All Cap. Why do I only have this one fund? It just simply is the only fund I need. It includes over 7,000 stocks for a low fee. It makes me as diversified as possible, and it means I don't need to invest into multiple ETFs or index funds. I can just have one. And why do I actually settle on this investing approach? Ultimately, it's because I believe I can't beat the market by picking stocks or by picking countries. So I'd rather own the entire market and as many stocks as possible. And that's ultimately what led me down this path to just using this fund. And it's why I've been investing into it now for over 7 years actually. Because my first year of investing, I made a lot of mistakes. So 7 years I've been in the FTSE Global All Cap. I also have one stocks and shares lifetime ISA, as you can see on screen. And this is with Hargreaves Lansdown. And all the money is in, drum roll, the FTSE Global All Cap. I know, not very exciting, I'm sorry. I actually haven't used this lifetime ISA for 4 or 5 years now. And the reason being is that when you become a higher rate taxpayer, which I did when I qualified as a chartered accountant, it's more tax efficient because the 40% tax relief from a pension as a higher rate taxpayer offsets, or not offsets, but it's better than the 25% bonus you get from a lifetime ISA. So whilst ISAs are great and you can use them, if you're below 40, it's probably still worth opening one up, because once you get to 40, you can't. So open one up, put £1 in it, so you have that option in case you do want it. But that's ultimately why I stopped contributing to this lifetime ISA, although of course the money's still sitting there and it will compound for the next 30 plus years until I can access it at 60. They're my ISAs. Nothing too fancy. All the money is in the FTSE Global All Cap. Now let's come on to my pensions. This is my first pension and it is with Vanguard, and this is a SIPP. With this SIPP, the reason why I initially opened it was because I could tax efficiently move money from my limited company into my SIPP. So if you're self-employed or the director of a company, it's definitely worth looking into opening a SIPP. However, over the years, I've then also combined old workplace pensions into this SIPP. So one slight caveat of this is, even though the gain is showing £5,000, most of this money has come from an old workplace pension, and the gain in that before I moved was about £8,000. So my sort of gains are larger than this, but that's one niche point about when you do switch investments or switch platforms. Optically, it looks a little bit weird because your returns are sort of gone or doesn't show them anymore on the new platform or in the new investment. But you got to remember your cost basis is higher because you made gains, hopefully. So the cost basis on the new investment on the new platform is then higher as a result. So what I'm trying to say is you don't lose your gains or you're not losing your compounding, just optically it can be a bit weird. But with this account, and I track this all pretty meticulously on my spreadsheet, as we're going to come back to in a sec, my actual cost basis is about £26,500, most of which came from 2 old workplace pensions. So the actual true sort of gain is around £12,800. And all the money is in, once again, the hat trick, the FTSE Global All Cap. All for the exact same reason. So perhaps interestingly, and often people don't do this, I currently take the exact same approach in my accounts that are accessible, my stocks and shares ISA, and my accounts that are inaccessible, my SIPP and my stocks and shares lifetime ISA. The reason being is that I want to be globally diversified through a low-cost index fund, and I want my approach to be as simple and as passive and as hands-off as possible. I could maybe take a riskier approach in 1 or 2 of the accounts, but for now, I'm just sticking with this because it honestly is so simple and my wealth grows passively over time as the global stock market hopefully continues to keep performing well over time. My second pension is then this, and this is my Australian superannuation with a company called Mercer. So this has been built up since I've been working in Australia, and all of the money is in essentially the lowest cost, most globally diversified fund I could find on this specific platform called Mercer Passive International Shares. And that's essentially the system I followed with even my old UK workplace pensions. I would log in and just try and find the lowest cost, most globally diversified fund and just put all my money into that. And I've done the exact same here. But yeah, the bottom line is it's definitely worth looking into your workplace pension because that's your money and it's being invested. I probably will move this money to another platform in Australia, which we'll come back to in a second. So I'll build up a little bit of suspense for you. But this money is also locked up and inaccessible until retirement age, which is currently 60 in Australia. And they are all of my tax efficient accounts. So there's 2 ISAs and there's 2 pensions. Now we're gonna come on to my general investment accounts, which also includes my crypto investments. Sticking on the Australia theme, this is my largest investment account in Australia and is my Vanguard general investment account with Vanguard Australia. Unfortunately, there's no ISA equivalent over here, but I wanted to, of course, invest as much as I could on top of my super, and I also wanted the money to be accessible, so I opened up a general investment account. If I were to sell this when I move back home, for example, I would need to pay tax on the gains, but for now, of course, I don't pay any tax, so I just invest every month and hold for the long term. So the pot is at just under 60,000 dingo dollars, and once again, like pretty much every single investment account I've got, you'll probably notice in the theme here, I hold just one global fund. That fund is here at the bottom, BGS, which is just another low-cost global ETF. It was the lowest cost, most globally diversified ETF once again that I could find on Vanguard's platform. So I just park all my money in there, invest every month and hold for the long term. So hopefully 2 things. Number 1, I'm showing you how simple investing really can be. It genuinely does not need to be complicated and you don't need to be rich or special or some sort of genius to start investing. But secondly, I definitely do have way too many investment accounts just because of my current situation. If you are in the UK, you really only need your workplace pension or a SIPP and then an ISA. And if you want to keep it as simple as possible, you can just have one low-cost global fund in both, put money in every month, and boom, you're literally 90% of the way there. You can do more, but often complexity when it comes to investing by adding in more funds, trying to pick stocks, whilst it can be more interesting, it often takes away from your returns and it could cost you in fees. So that's just why I really like keeping my approach as simple as possible. Of course, it is boring. It's not everyone's cup of tea, but yeah, that's what I personally follow. I then have quite a lot of general investment accounts. The reason being mainly is that I like to try out new platforms as they come onto the market, just so that if people ask me about them, I can then let them know my honest thoughts on them. So when it comes to other general investment accounts, my biggest ones are Trading 212, which you can see here. And all of that money, once again, is in one low-cost global ETF, VWRP. I could potentially switch this money to a lower-cost global ETF, but for now, it's just parked there. My second biggest general investment account is then my free trade account. Once again, all the money, or most of the money, is once again in a low-cost global fund. This time, again, a VWRP. The fee has come down for that fund recently, 0.19%. I then have a Tesla share, which I got for free, just for a free share many years ago. And I also got some Diageo shares, here you go, because of Guinness. And unfortunately, been performing very badly. Those investments were made, once again, years and years ago. And it's down 50%, which shows you, it's actually mental to think about as a side tangent. Guinness is now, I'm pretty sure, the most popular beer in the UK, maybe even all over the world right now, but yet the share price is down 50%. So it just shows that it can be so difficult to pick stocks, and that's why I stick to index funds and ETFs. Although, yeah, of course, do love a pint of Guinness. And number 3, I've also got Invest Engine. Not as much money is in this account, and I'm actually using 2 other global ETFs. My favorite global ETF is ACWI, which is my largest holding. And realistically, I should just rebalance the FWRG ETF into ACWI. But for now, once again, I'm just being lazy and having 2 global funds. If I wanted to, I could just simplify this and just use ACWI in all of these GIAs. That'd be the simplest approach, because in my opinion, that's the best low-cost global ETF at the moment. But when you actually do buy and sell funds, you do incur bid-ask spreads, and all of this money is in general investment accounts. So if I crystallize the gains, there'd be tax to pay. Although, funnily enough, I could actually sell the Diageo shares and then offset the capital loss against some capital gains, but I'll continue to hold the Diageo shares, ultimately because I guess every pint of Guinness I have, I'm paying myself a dividend in some very loose, massively money losing way. Finally, we then have crypto, and this is my crypto.com account. I actually have most of my crypto investments held offline. And you know what, this is probably a good time to come back to the spreadsheet. So if I actually scroll down here, you can see my investments by type, and I've got 12% in crypto of my total investment portfolio. That amounts to just under £23,000. As you just saw, £7,000 was held on crypto.com, and that is split across 3 cryptos, although my largest holding is Bitcoin. Then of the rest of the money, the other £16,000 I have in crypto, that is all held offline in cold storage in a Ledger Nano X wallet. And of that money that's held offline, most of it is in Bitcoin. So I then scroll up, and this is why this dashboard helps me out, because I have just so many investment accounts, and it just lets me track it all easily in one place rather than opening up 15 different apps. You can see my crypto split is heavily weighted towards Bitcoin. And this probably actually is a good time to pivot into this spreadsheet. So as I mentioned, that is my total investment portfolio. That is everything I invest into. You can see here on the right, this is including pensions. People often ask me, why do I include pensions? Ultimately, because it's my money, it's being invested, and it's going to form part of my retirement plan, my financial independence plan, when I draw down the money from these various accounts one day. So this is absolutely everything here on the right that I invest into. Of course, the FTSE Global All Cap is over half of my portfolio. That is my largest investment. And if I go back to this investment by type, you can see that of my total money invested, 87% is in index funds and ETFs. The specific index funds and ETFs you can then see up here. So once again, most of it is in the FTSE Global All Cap, but I then do also have some other funds that make up smaller parts. And really, as you probably noticed, in each important investment account anyway, I just try and find the lowest cost, most diversified fund and just chuck all my money in there. Don't try and time the market, don't do anything special, invest consistently and hold for the long term, and let time, compound interest and the market do the rest. I quite like this graph as well, investment by account, because this helps me see what amount of my portfolio is accessible or inaccessible. So of course, the stocks and shares ISA and the general investment accounts are accessible, although with the general investment accounts, there may be tax to pay when I sell, and combined they make up about 2/3 of my portfolio, 64%, whereas the other accounts are inaccessible, and those accounts are all essentially different types of pensions, but the money's locked up until way down the track. The earliest access is in about 29 years. So my sort of aim really is to use pensions because they're tax efficient, but also focus on using accessible accounts so I can hopefully live off my investments before pension retirement age. I then also have these compounding projections over time. So, 30 years based on how much I currently have invested. If we expect 7% return per year, which is the average long-term return of the stock market, the broad stock market after inflation, then based on these current numbers, without investing another penny, I'm going to get to about £1.5 million, which is pretty mental. And that really is the power of, if you can build up a decent investment portfolio at a young age in your 20s or 30s, like I've been fortunately been able to do just through investing early and just stumbling across it when I was 20, which is very lucky. You actually can almost, not that I will hopefully, but stop investing and take your foot off the gas because you already have a decent amount invested that will just continue to compound in the background. And that's actually why I've taken a bit of a risk by quitting my chartered accountancy job, and I'm now doing this full time. I'm going to release a full video on my 2026 investing strategy. Now I am doing this full time, but yeah, that really is the magic of compounding, as you probably heard a million times before, over the long term, and why if you can start early with a small amount, it goes a long way. And even if you can't start early, just get started now with whatever you can. And the only regret you'll have, honestly, is that you didn't start earlier or you didn't invest more. And that is my investment portfolio. Most of my money is in global index funds and ETFs, and the rest, about 12%, and this does fluctuate a bit, is in crypto. It has got as high as 30% in the past. It has got as low as 5%. Crypto is very volatile. It is much higher risk. That's definitely the risky investment or the risky part of my portfolio that I've got, which is why I keep it a much smaller part of my portfolio. I don't have any bonds, ultimately because I'm still in the wealth accumulation phase of my investing journey. I don't have any gold once again for the same reason. Even though it's performed very well this year, the long-term returns of gold and bonds normally are dwarfed by the stock market, which is why ultimately I funnel most of my money into the stock market with a bit of crypto on the side. And the key message from all of this is that investing genuinely can be unbelievably simple. You don't need to be some sort of Wolf of Wall Street or some Warren Buffett to get started investing. You can download an app and get started investing in minutes. You also can keep your approach unbelievably simple. And even though I love all this and talking about it, that's what I really still do with the bulk of my portfolio, just holding one low-cost global fund in each investment account. So what I would say is, if you are going to add more investments to your portfolio, just make sure that on purpose and they're intentional, and you're not just investing into a load of random funds for the sake of it or because someone on Reddit said to. And the other key message really as well is that your cash just sitting in the bank is going to lose out to inflation. And by actually investing, you're giving yourself a chance to beat inflation, which investing historically does through the stock market over the long term. I've talked a lot about global funds in this video. If you'd have had a shot every time I mentioned a global fund, you're probably not watching to this point. But if you are still watching and you're interested in finding out more about global ETFs, click this video here. I ranked 12 of the biggest global ETFs that are available to UK investors from S tier to F tier. So give that a watch and hopefully it'll help you on your investing journey.